In a significant development for air travel regulations effective from January 2026, senior travelers over the age of 70 are facing new challenges at airports across the United States, with reports indicating that many are being denied boarding due to lack of awareness about updated documentation requirements, security procedures, and boarding policies that have undergone substantial changes in recent years, changes that were not widely publicized and have led to heartbreaking real-world consequences such as missed family events and additional financial burdens, as highlighted in detailed accounts from aviation insiders who have witnessed these situations firsthand, emphasizing that these issues are preventable with proper preparation and knowledge, and it is crucial for seniors and those assisting them to understand that even experienced flyers must adapt to these alterations, which differ markedly from practices just 2 years prior, where failure to comply can result in being turned away at the gate, not due to any fault, but simply from unawareness of the new mandates, drawing from observations at the front lines of air travel, where personnel have seen the direct impact on passengers, including a 73-year-old man who missed his daughter's wedding because his identification did not meet the fresh federal standards, a scenario that underscores the urgency of disseminating this information to avoid similar outcomes. And in this comprehensive update from the U.S. Visa Portal, we delve into 11 critical aspects that every senior traveler must be aware of before arriving at the airport this year, treating these not as optional suggestions, but as mandatory requirements with precise guidance on how to navigate each one, beginning with the pre-flight and documentation phase where the most surprises are occurring. First, addressing the Real ID deadline, which became enforceable on May 7th of 2025, meaning that for domestic flights, a standard driver's license is no longer sufficient and must be replaced by a Real ID compliant version, a change that has caught many seniors off guard, especially those who renewed their licenses several years ago without realizing the compliance status, leading to gate delays comparable to those caused by inclement weather and resulting in high levels of stress and disrupted travel plans. And to verify compliance, individuals should immediately examine their driver's license for a star inside a circle or a star within a state cutout in the top right corner, as the absence of this marker renders the license invalid for air travel security checkpoints from that date onward, with alternatives available such as a valid United States passport or passport card, which remain acceptable substitutes. And for those without compliant identification, it is imperative to schedule an appointment at the local Department of Motor Vehicles without delay given the extended wait times for such services as the deadline has approached, illustrated by the case of a 76-year-old woman named Margaret who arrived 3 hours early for her flight to meet her first great-grandchild, only to be denied at security due to her non-compliant license, forcing a rescheduling that incurred hundreds of dollars in costs and caused her to miss the baby's initial homecoming, a preventable tragedy that serves as a stark reminder to check identification today rather than risk such disruptions. Moving next to the medical documentation requirements, which have been clarified to dispel common misconceptions, noting that no doctor's note is required solely based on being over 70, as airlines are prohibited from age-based discrimination. Yet for specific medical conditions, the rules were tightened in late 2025, mandating documentation in cases involving supplemental oxygen, wheelchair use for distances beyond typical airport navigation, or any condition, potentially requiring in-flight medical attention, where a medical clearance form must be submitted 48 to 72 hours prior to departure, a process that has become less flexible than in previous years. And this form, variously named across carriers such as Special Service Request on Delta, Accessible Travel Services on United, or Special Assistance on American, uniformly requires a physician's signature affirming fitness to fly, with the recommended approach being to contact the airline directly by stating the need to submit medical clearance documentation and requesting the form via email for completion and timely return, as failure to do so empowers gate agents to deny boarding if they perceive a risk of medical emergency. Though healthy seniors without equipment or assistance needs are exempt, and in cases of uncertainty such as using a cane or managing a heart condition, consulting the airline in advance is advised to err on the side of having unnecessary documentation rather than lacking what is required, further extending to prescription medication protocols that have been stringent since 2026 under Transportation Security Administration guidelines, particularly for liquids and controlled substances, where pills must remain in their original pharmacy bottles bearing the patient's name, prescribing doctor's details and medication identification rather than in organizers or unmarked bags, as non-compliance can lead to confiscation at checkpoints due to the need for verification of ownership and legality amid heightened scrutiny of opioids and similar substances. And to prepare, travelers should request duplicate-labeled bottles from their pharmacist for travel portions at no cost by explaining the purpose, ensuring these are placed in carry-on luggage to avoid loss in checked bags which could jeopardize essential medications like those for heart conditions, while for liquid prescriptions exceeding the 3.4-ounce limit such as insulin or antibiotics. Declaration at the security checkpoint is mandatory by informing officers of medically necessary liquids for separate testing, which typically adds only a brief delay, and for injectables like insulin pens or EpiPens, carrying a prescription copy or doctor's note, though not legally mandated, facilitates smoother processing and prevents extended holds that have been observed lasting up to 20 minutes, transitioning now to the at-the-airport phase encompassing security and boarding elements, where the fourth key point involves Transportation Security Administration pre-check options tailored for seniors, including a lesser-known free alternative for those 75 and older who are permitted to retain shoes and light jackets during standard screening lines as per a policy initiated in 2023, allowing them to inform officers of their age and request to keep shoes on without incurring fees, though belts with large buckles must still be removed. And for those under 75 but over 70, enrolling in pre-check is strongly recommended at a cost of $78 for 5 years, equating to roughly $15 annually, less than many single-checked bag fees, with the application process involving online submission and an enrollment center visit yielding approval in 2 to 3 weeks. And an additional benefit lies in certain credit cards reimbursing this fee entirely, such as the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture, or select American Express options, urging seniors to review their card perks to potentially avoid out-of-pocket expenses, followed by the fifth aspect concerning pre-boarding rights that are federally mandated but often not clearly announced, enabling passengers needing extra time or assistance, including many seniors, to board prior to general groups, a practice that enhances safety and efficiency by allowing settlement without the pressure of crowds, qualifying based on needs like additional settling time, mobility device storage, difficulty with long walks, or preference for early boarding rather than age alone. And to invoke this, seniors should approach gate agents with a statement requesting pre-boarding due to needing extra time, without requiring justification, documentation, or fees as it aligns with priority or courtesy boarding phases, following military and families with children, drawing from experiences where couples in their early 70s who did not request this ended up exhausted and at risk of falls during rushed boarding with carry-ons, whereas early access permits crew assistance in a calm environment, emphasizing that flight crews prefer this arrangement for smoother operations, then addressing the sixth point on updated mobility device screening procedures from 2025, where canes, walkers, wheelchairs, and similar aids now undergo advanced technology inspections including separate scanning or explosive swabbing as routine measures not targeted at individuals, and to navigate this, upon reaching security, inform officers of mobility device use and the need for assistance to be directed to an appropriate lane, with options to walk through detectors or receive seated pat-downs if unable to stand, using the phrase indicating the need to remain seated due to limitations which must be accommodated under policy, and if resistance occurs, requesting a supervisor is advised as they are equipped to enforce proper treatment, additionally suggesting collapsing foldable devices beforehand for expedited X-ray processing and seeking help from officers if needed, shifting to the accessibility and special services segment, with the seventh element focused on wheelchair assistance, which demands advance request at booking, or minimally 48 hours pre-flight, rather than upon arrival to ensure availability from contracted providers who staff accordingly, avoiding waits that have caused missed flights. And when booking online or by phone, specify needs in special services sections, such as from check-in to gate and gate to baggage claim, with retroactive additions possible by calling to update reservations, noting that this service is complimentary under the Air Carrier Access Act without tipping obligations, though appreciation is common. And from operational perspectives, Requesting assistance prevents overexertion in vast airport layouts, preferable to attempting independent navigation that risks injury. Eighthly, covering accommodations for invisible disabilities encompassing chronic pain, arthritis, breathing difficulties, crowd anxiety, or cognitive issues that entitle affected individuals to supports like extra time, priority seating, or escorts even without apparent aids, protected by the Air Carrier Access Act, yet requiring self-advocacy since needs are not assumed, by stating to personnel the presence of a non-visible disability and specifying reasonable accommodations, such as pre-boarding for arthritis to avoid rushed bag storage, or assistance through security for anxiety, where reasonableness excludes alterations to core flight functions but includes practical aids like bathroom proximate seating for medical reasons. And in recapping these essentials, we have examined the Real ID compliance necessity with the star marker verification, medical clearance forms for specific conditions submitted in advance, prescription handling in original bottles with declarations for liquids, senior-specific Transportation Security Administration, pre-check perks, including shoe retention for those 75 plus, federally required pre-boarding for extra time needs requested at gates, updated screening for mobility devices with seated options, timely wheelchair requests under accessibility laws, and invisible disability supports through vocalized reasonable accommodations extending further to companion care. Seating rules, which ensure that seniors traveling with aides or family for support can secure adjacent seating as part of accessibility mandates, though details on requesting this involve contacting airlines to note the companion requirement in reservations to facilitate arrangements without extra charges in compliance with regulations and guidelines on traveling with oxygen or CPAP machines that now necessitate pre-flight medical forms confirming fitness and device compatibility, with portable oxygen concentrators approved if meeting Federal Aviation Administration standards and batteries sufficient for 1.5 times the flight duration, requiring advance notification to airlines for onboard use without fees, but with potential seat assignments near power outlets if available, and for CPAP devices carried as medical equipment exempt from carry-on limits, packed in carry-ons with distilled water declarations at security if needed, ensuring no disruptions by having backup power and masks ready, finally encompassing connecting flight protections via meet and assist services offered by airlines for seniors navigating transfers, where upon request during booking, personnel provide guidance or wheelchair escorts between gates, especially for tight connections or large terminals. A free service under accessibility protocols that mitigates risks of missing subsequent flights due to mobility constraints, representing in total these 11 pivotal requirements that distinguish between seamless journeys and potential crises at airports. And as an additional advisory, seniors traveling solo are encouraged to inform flight attendants during boarding of their status for discreet monitoring in cases of turbulence, emergencies, or assistance needs like bathroom access or bag retrieval, a simple notification that has proven invaluable in ensuring safety without intrusive oversight, reinforcing that crew members prioritize passenger comfort and are equipped to respond accordingly. And in this context, from the U.S. visa portal, it is evident that advocating for oneself by speaking up about needs and utilizing available accommodations is essential, as these provisions are designed to support senior travelers who have every right to them, urging those with concerns such as security queues, extended walks, or equipment handling to engage actively. While sharing this knowledge with fellow seniors can avert vacation disruptions or injuries, concluding this update with a call to stay informed on evolving travel protocols to maintain safe and efficient air journeys in 2026 and beyond, as the landscape continues to adapt with a focus on security and accessibility for all passengers, including those over 70, who form a vital segment of the traveling public, and through platforms like the U.S. visa portal. Such critical information is made accessible to empower informed decision-making and preparation, preventing the unfortunate scenarios that have arisen from unawareness of these updated rules, ensuring that no traveler is left behind due to overlooked changes in airport procedures that demand proactive steps from documentation checks to service requests, all aimed at fostering a more inclusive and secure aviation environment where seniors can travel with confidence and dignity, free from the pitfalls that have affected many in recent months as these policies take full effect, and by integrating these practices into travel planning, the risks of denial or delay are substantially minimized, allowing focus on the purpose of the trip, whether visiting family or exploring new destinations, with the assurance that compliance with these 11 points provides a solid foundation for successful navigation of 2026 airport experiences, reiterating the importance of immediate action on identification verification, medical forms where applicable, medication packaging, security, accommodations, boarding priorities, device screenings, assistance requests, and disability supports, alongside companion arrangements, oxygen and CPAP protocols, and connection aids, all underpinned by open communication with airline staff who are there to facilitate rather than hinder the journey. And in light of real instances like the gentleman missing a wedding or the woman delayed from seeing her great-grandchild, the value of this knowledge cannot be overstated, positioning it as a cornerstone for senior travel safety in the current regulatory framework. And as the U.S. visa portal continues to monitor and report on such developments, travelers are advised to reference these guidelines regularly to stay ahead of any further adjustments that may impact their plans, thereby transforming potential obstacles into manageable aspects of the travel process through education and preparation, ultimately contributing to a smoother overall experience for seniors and their companions alike in this era of heightened airport standards.